Roll 'em. Cut! 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 Action!
This week on MTV is The Big Picture. It's the apes versus the fish in our Big Five countdown. We've got new movies from Billy Crystal and James Caan in our big lineup. We'll take a close look at the making of Imagine John Lennon. And our special guest Whoopi Goldberg will stop by to tell us about her new movie, Clara's Heart. Hi, I'm Chris Connelly, senior editor of Premiere Magazine, and welcome to this week's edition of The Big Picture here on MTV. Well, movie-going has been a little off over the last few weeks. Some people will tell you it's because people were home watching the Olympics, or because there hasn't been a real must-see movie like last year's Fatal Attraction. But tonight we'll see if some of the new films in the pipeline can reverse that trend. And also our special guest Whoopi Goldberg is going to join us, and she'll tell us about her new movie, Clara's Heart. And we'll also be finding out about the making of John Lennon's Imagine. Well, right now, let's get started with the big lineup of films that are opening up this week. Now, the first movie is an adventure thriller with kind of a science fiction twist. It's called Alien Nation. It's from the same producer who brought you Aliens. This movie takes place a few years in the future, after 250,000 aliens have crash-landed on Earth. Now, they live peacefully here until one of them kills a cop. So an Earthling cop, played by James Caan, teams up with an alien crime solver, he's played by Mandy Patinkin, to solve the murder. Yes, it's yet another unusual buddy movie. And Patinkin got quite a makeup job for the role.
I did watch a few science fiction films, basically to see makeup and see the way people dealt with makeup that were completely covered and how much they were able to use their features or not, so that I could talk to the makeup people and just technically we could try to trim things down so that my own face could come out and live through it as much as possible, so that I wasn't completely encumbered with the Dow Chemical Company on top of my head.
Where's the drug? What drug? This is an oil refinery. Where? You can't do this.
George, I think you're crushing his little chest bones.
Stay out of this, Matthew.
Right.
You tell me where the drug has been taken, and I'll crush your lungs.
Hey, O'Neill, please, do me a favor. Don't piss him off. Because he gets like this, I can't control him.
You know, I saw him once.
Actually, go in there and pull out a guy's spine and show it to him. And there was nothing I could do. I had to go throw up, you know?
They took the stuff out this afternoon. All of it.
Where did they take it?
The Encounters Club.
You know, Patinkin's character was originally supposed to be called George Jetson, but apparently Hanna-Barbera wouldn't give up the rights. Instead, his Earth name is Sam Francisco, but as kind of an in-joke, Caan's character calls him George anyway. Well, the next film in our big lineup casts funny man Billy Crystal as a doctor who's trying to patch things up with his cantankerous father. It's called Memories of Me, and although some people have compared the premise to the old Tom Hanks-Jackie Gleason movie Nothing in Common, this one bears the clear comic stamp of Crystal, who wrote and produced the movie as well. Now, Memories of Me was directed by Henry Winkler. You remember, the Fonz. And it also stars Alan King as Billy's father. Now, we caught up with Billy on the set of his latest movie, and we talked about Memories of Me.
Oh, come on, really? He's alive? Where is he? Where does he live?
He lives in Los Angeles.
Well, what does he do?
He's a professional embarrassment.
Yo, Abbey! Wait! Come on, wait! Do something. This is a moving picture. Do something funny. Come on, funny. Guess who?
How else did the script change from the time that you first conceived it to the time it got on screen?
It was originally on blue paper, and we went... but seriously, it changed. The growth of the story changed. It became more of a focus on the young man trying to figure out what's happening to him. He's had a minor heart attack in the opening of the movie, and he's setting out to question his own mortality, and he better find out if his father ever loved him. His father abandoned the family to become an actor. And indeed, he's only been an extra his whole life.
So how's your so-called mother? You seen her lately?
She came to visit me about 2 weeks ago. She moved to Vermont, you know.
Hold it. Vermont? A woman her age is supposed to live in Florida. Who moves to Vermont?
She likes the cold.
She should. She invented it.
These are two guys who have each other and don't. And that's very frustrating. I lost my father when I was 15, which is the great frustration in my life, to just have him around, just to know we're doing okay. So these guys have each other, and can't communicate.
Who do you think sent you through medical school?
Uncle Dave.
Well, he could afford it.
I wanted to show the relay race of unhappiness that people can do in their lives. It goes fast. You always hear parents going, it goes so fast. You know, I'm 40 now, and my mother still refers to me in months. My age is in months. I'm 444 months now, or whatever it is. And it goes fast. And I think that's also, that urgency is in this movie. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are, it's time to grow up.
Memories of Me with Billy Crystal. You can catch that in your theaters pretty soon. Well, Whoopi Goldberg made her dramatic movie debut 2 years ago with The Color Purple, for which she received an Oscar nomination. And since then, you've seen her in movies like Jumping Jack Flash and Fatal Beauty. And she was also one of the leaders of the benefit for the homeless called Comic Relief. Now, this week she joins us to talk about her new movie, Clara's Heart. Thanks a lot for coming by, Whoopi.
My pleasure.
You're a menschette for doing this.
My pleasure. Danke, danke.
Now, some people would say you've had kind of a tough run the last couple of years with some of your movies. What's, you know, Burglar, The Telephone, movies like that. What's your verdict on the situation?
Oh, I think it hasn't been as tough as most people would think. They're not critically acclaimed films. You know, critics who don't pay to go to see the movies, number one, they say, well, she should be doing this. She was great in it, but she should be doing something else. Always my retort to them is write it and get it done, and then we can talk about it. But, you know, I've been on tour for the last couple of months, and I discovered that most people have seen Jumpin' Jack Flash or Burglar, and they've liked it. So while I'm not Eddie Murphy and I don't bring in, you know, $20 million the first second the movie, like, hits the coast, you know, I would never think of them as any of them as failures or failures at the box office. Nobody's ever lost money on my movies. They just have not been Eddie makers, you know.
Do you feel like people sort of turned on you unfairly because you'd had so much success so quickly? Is that why you think it was viewed that way, or?
No, I just think people want me to do lots of Color Purples, and of course, if people were offering me lots of Color Purples, I'd probably do them. But they're few and far between, and I like working, and I like the kinds of things that I've been doing. It's been my choice.
Well, that's fair enough. And you've got Clara's Heart coming up this week, and we'll take a look at Clara's Heart, and we'll talk more with Whoopi Goldberg. We'll also take a look at Imagine John Lennon when MTV's The Big Picture returns. Stay with us.
Little boy, listen. Nobody makes me do nothing I don't want to do, so you might as well aim that meanness and nasty talk elsewhere. Because you got another thing coming if you think you're going to act so dreadful around Clara.
Check it out. Where you gonna see the hottest rap videos and interviews with the coolest rap stars? On Yo MTV Raps, that's where. So join Fab Five Freddy every Saturday at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern. Yo MTV Raps, cause it's nitro fresh, super hype, and ultra fly. And only on MTV.
The Big Picture is brought to you by Michelob.
So exceptionally smooth, the night belongs to Michelob.
And what makes you think I was anyway? Have you ever done that? Growing up is embarrassing.
It's me, that gal with the pair that makes all the boys stare. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Having a great figure like mine is definitely a big asset, but it's not always as much fun as it's cracked up to be. Growing up was really hard. They just didn't make brownie uniforms with a 38-inch bust. Hey, all you couch pumpkins, grab your phones right now and call 1-900-909-1313. That's 1-900-909-1313. I'm dying to hear from you.
Pick up the Rock Talk Guide at Tower Records.
I was fortunate to be one of the first men to walk on the moon. And like you, I'm celebrating the rebirth of America's manned space program, the launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery. Now you can have this $5 commemorative coin marking this historic event. This legal tender coin is being issued by the Republic of the Marshall Islands, where America has an important space tracking station. This $5 coin is about the same diameter as a silver dollar, but even thicker, and painstakingly minted in a proof-like finish. Issued on Discovery's launch date and minted only in 1988, this historic coin is available at its $5 face value only for a short time and in a limited quantity. It's a tribute to America's determination and the undaunted courage of our astronauts.
Order your Space Shuttle Discovery $5 coins today for yourself or as a gift. Pay only the $5 face value plus $1 each for delivery. There is a limit of 5 coins per order. Call this number now.
Chris Connelly back with you here on The Big Picture. I'm talking with our special guest, Whoopi Goldberg, the star of Clara's Heart, which opens this week. Yeah. How did you get involved in this particular project? Was it something that was brought to you, or did you help to develop it at all?
No, actually it's a 3-year-old project that Marty Elfan, who's the producer, has been trying to get me to do for 3 years. But I wanted to do other stuff. I wanted to do burglars and Jack Flashes and have some fun and learn about the business and so forth, and I was ready to do it last year when we talked about it, and I really liked it. I think it's a real nice story, you know. It's a buddy picture, me and a little kid.
You play a Jamaican housekeeper who...
Yeah, a Jamaican companion, I prefer to think of, because she doesn't keep much house in the movie. You know, you see me cook maybe one thing. You don't ever see me cleaning. I look great. And so I never think of her as a housekeeper, just as someone who comes in to sort of straighten up. I would say I'm the closest to the 80s version of Mary Poppins.
And here she is, in fact, meeting up with her charge for the first time. Here's a look at Clara's Heart.
I thought you were a maid. This is a guest room, you know, a room for guests.
Well, perhaps your mother want me up here close to you in case I got to change your diapers in the middle of the night.
Very funny. Hey, how come you talk so weird?
You ain't heard weird talking yet, child. Because I talk so deep bad to you, you think you're living in a nightmare.
What does that mean?
Means if you don't act like a proper gentleman, I will turn you into a toad.
Ooh, you're telling me now you're some kind of witch or what?
Something like that, yeah.
You're not in charge of me, you know. I just want to make sure you know that right at the start.
That is obvious, so we move on to other things now.
She's not well, you know, my mother.
You don't seem all that healthy yourself.
You're a real jerk, you know that?
Well, if I'm a jerk, you're a bobo.
Oh, well then you're a super dweeb.
Well, if I am a super dweeb, you are a boo-boo yaga.
Yeah?
Don't say anything else. Best you and me, we learn to become part of one another. Perhaps then there is some hope for us.
Little scene from Clara's Heart. That kid is just fantastic in this movie.
Yes,
tell us a little bit about him.
Oh, he's great. His name is Neil Patrick Harris, and he's just incredible. He was incredible to watch and be with, and we're good buddies. We tell dirty jokes to each other. It's great. It's a nice relationship.
Well, he gets to actually speak in patois later on in the film, in some of the film's funniest moments.
Yes.
Did you work with him on that, or you just pick it up on his own?
No, he got it on his own. He got it on his own. He's pretty incredible. I suspect you'll be seeing a lot of him in the future.
This is a really tender film, though. I mean, there are a lot of laughs in it, but there's some real heartbreaking stuff, too. Your relationship is not a traditional one. It's different and very honest.
Yeah, I like that. You know, it's very rare that you get to do that with another actor, and certainly never with a kid. You know, they're always much smarter than you are somehow. And Neil is a real kid. He's a live, breathing child.
And you dedicated this performance as well to another child, is that right?
To another child. The lady that usually does my hair in the films, Julia Walker, her daughter passed away from leukemia at the age of, like, 4. And Julie was unable to do my hair for the film. And she's a great kid, and I love Julia very much, and I thought, what better way could I say goodbye than to dedicate probably what is my best performance to date to her.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks a lot for coming in and telling us about it.
My pleasure.
Whoopi Goldberg in Clara's Heart. Well, the final film in our big lineup is one that's going to hit home for a lot of us. Imagine John Lennon is an intimate look at the life of one of the true cultural revolutionaries of our time. Now, the movie features tons of previously unseen footage of Lennon that was provided by Yoko Ono. And it's narrated by John himself, taken from old interviews. Making Imagine proves to be a stirring affirmation of the importance of John Lennon's life and art. And you know that can't be bad. Take a look.
Dear Mr. Lennon, from information I received while using a Ouija board, I believe that there will be an attempt to assassinate you.
Though I gave up my power to give part of the film, so to speak, if the film was bad, then they would all blame me again, you know. So I felt responsible about it.
She said she wanted somebody strong, a strong producer doing the film, so that she couldn't insert herself in it. She really did want a fair view of John Lennon.
If I'm going to get on the front page, I might as well get on the front page with the word peace.
But you've made yourself ridiculous.
To some people, I don't care. If
it
saves lives.
You don't think you... Oh, my dear boy, you're living in another
Well, you talk to
You don't think you've saved a single life.
There's more film, personal film on John Lennon than anybody that ever lived, any celebrity that ever lived. He had photographers following him around, sound and film, for many, many years.
Well, I was just filming myself, my friends, anything that was around me in my life.
It became a difficult process because of the volume that had to be viewed, but at the same time we were finding what I call pure gold. We ended up with a 20-hour rough cut assembly of the film, and from that we started to pare down to what we really finally used.
It's 40 years of life in an hour and a half. So it's not that easy, you know, to do that.
The aim from the start was to tell John's story in his own words and then have that added to interviews that would be shot today and give us a perspective from the people who knew him best.
My father almost completely stopped his musical career to raise me. It makes me feel good. I know that.
It was an exciting thing for me to go and see him again after not seeing him for such a while.
I don't remember seeing him as a child. You know, it was the height of the Beatle thing, so I was working all the time. I never considered what it was doing to him. I didn't even count it.
He talks you through it, and the film does not lie. His words don't lie.
You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
I really think that John is a good energy, and it helps people to be in touch with it. And so I think it should still go on.
And the world will be as one.
You know, people really treasure their memories of John Lennon. I was working the telephone switchboard at Rolling Stone magazine the day after he died, and I remember we were just flooded with calls from people who just wanted to tell someone, anyone, how much John Lennon had meant to them. And this Sunday, on what would have been John's 48th birthday, MTV is going to present a special day-long tribute to John Lennon, featuring his music and interviews with his family and more scenes from Imagine. You really won't want to miss it. Well, that's what's opening in theaters this weekend. There are plenty of other pictures in the works, though, as we'll see in MTV Movie News. Jodie Foster has been one busy performer lately. In the last year, she's been on view in Siesta, Five Corners, and Stealing Home. She's also got a potential blockbuster due later this month in The Accused. And she's also just finished shooting yet another movie, this one with Dennis Hopper starring and directing. It's called Backtrack. Hopper plays a mafia hitman who becomes obsessed with the woman he's been hired to kill.
She basically becomes obsessed with her fantasy of who's pursuing her. And they get together and, all those fantasies explode, and they're they're kind of your regular couple, you know, to the moon, Alice. There's a lot of that. Shut up. There's a lot of bickering, let's say.
You know, Hopper had to lobby very hard to get Foster cast, and apparently Foster says it's because the studio was worried about their age differences. We're going to be hearing a lot more from Jodie next week when The Accused opens up. Well, Tim Robbins, who starred in Bull Durham and who's also appearing later this month in a new comedy called Tapeheads, is also working on another new movie with John Cleese. This one's called Eric the Viking. It's about a disillusioned Viking who's tired of war. Now, Robbins is a very particular guy about the movies he does. He says he won't do films that exploit women or that are gratuitously violent, but Eric the Viking has met with his approval, and here's why.
Here is a film that is within the milieu of a action-adventure film, but in the end is advocating an end to violence. So it's using the form and actually saying something quite nice and positive.
Now, Eric the Viking also stars Mickey Rooney and Eartha Kitt. You can look for that film next year. Well, in our home video corner this week is the first of this summer's big films to get released on tape. Now, Rambo III had a very disappointing summer at the box office, at least by its standards, unlike its forerunners. Well, maybe America just got tired of John Rambo. Anyway, if you like seeing stuff getting blown up, this is the film for you.
See if you can find some cover. Спускайся вниз, наконец!
Well, I think we should send Rambo to South Africa next time. Don't go away. We're going to be back with the big picture with our Big 5 countdown, including an Elvis Presley fantasy. Stay tuned.
What are you going to do with him? I'm going to give him to Mom.
He was afraid of nothing. He was afraid of nobody. He said what he thought.
His name was John Lennon, and this Sunday he would have been 48. Happy birthday, John Lennon Remembered. A full-day tribute to the man, his life, and his music. Lennon and Beatles clips all day long. VJ segments from Strawberry Fields in New York Central Park. And special reports with classic archival footage. Scenes from the new movie Imagine. The inside word on the controversial new book. And how he's remembered by the people who knew him. Happy birthday, John Lennon Remembered. Every hour this Sunday, beginning 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific on MTV.
Thank you for the music and happy birthday.
To Michelob.
Introducing Trey LA, the fragrance sets LA inside out.
Beverly Hills is so Trey LA. Fancy schmancy fat cars, cat chocolates, a big stars. Everybody's checking everybody out.
If a man you've never met suddenly gives you flowers, that's the impulse of new Trey LA.
Trey LA's LA inside out.
Trey LA from Impulse.
Is it possible for hair to have too much body? Prel says no. So they've built more bodybuilders than ever into my brand new Prel bodybuilding system. New Prel shampoos in even more body for more fullness. And new Prel conditioner enhances all that body with better manageability. Because when it comes to body, Prel says, the more the better.
From beyond imagination, Nintendo proudly launches the official magazine of video mastery, Nintendo Power, full of maps, contests, game reviews, and score-blasting high adventure.
Toby, help us! We're in trouble! Come on!
Order Nintendo Power now. Call this number and save $6 on 6 big issues. 110 pages of challenges and excitement. There's intrigue. There's energy. You don't just read Nintendo Power, you live it. Call 1-800-521-0900, extension 200 for your secret weapon to higher scores and hot game news. Available by subscription only.
Toby!
It's simple. $15, 6 issues.
Your Nintendo Power's here!
This is no dream. Call the Nintendo hotline to order. Now you're playing with power. Nintendo Power.
If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Chris Connelly back with you here on The Big Picture. And yes, it's time once again for our Big 5 countdown of the most popular films in America this week. Now, the number 5 movie may finally be on its way out of our countdown, but I wouldn't say so yet. It's Die Hard, continuing its indestructible run at the box office. It's drawing the kind of fans and making the sort of money that Rambo III was supposed to. Now, the number 4 movie has plunged 3 spots in the countdown from number 1 last week. That's no real surprise, though. David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers isn't exactly the perfect date movie. Now, this story of twin gynecologists with some major emotional problems can be pretty rough going, despite a flawless performance by Jeremy Irons as both brothers.
Yes, today I found out that she was having an affair. She's unfaithful to me, and
You mustn't take it so seriously. She's a showbiz lady. What can you expect?
I'm in love with her. I have to take it seriously.
Can't be love if it does this to you, can it? It can't be love, Bev.
You're right, Ellie. I was hiding from the wrong person.
Well, that movie does for twins what the Boston Strangler did for door-to-door salesman. Well, there's nothing new at number 3 this week. A Fish Called Wanda is still getting the sort of great word of mouth that's keeping it a big hit. And it's a real feather in the cap of John Cleese, who, by the way, cast his own daughter as his daughter in the film. And she's very funny. As for this week's number 2 movie, it's a fun-loving comedy from director-screenwriter Chris Columbus. Heartbreak Hotel brings Elvis Presley back to his rock and roll roots where he belongs, after he's kidnapped by a high school student and his family. Now, the film got kind of a mixed critical response, but so far audiences really seem to be enjoying the return of the king, who's played by David Keith.
He was confronted with a situation where someone needed him. I mean, most of the time, he'd just give him a Cadillac. But here was some time they didn't want a Cadillac, they didn't want money, they wanted him. They needed his presence there for something. So he says, okay, one night. Then another, and then another, you know. So it's through his sweetness that he's won over, through something that's true in him.
These are your dad's clothes, huh?
Yep.
Me and him must be about the same size. That's the way I used to dress back in '56.
Yeah, man. My mama says you looked the coolest in '56.
She did, huh?
Yeah, '56. Except, I don't know, man. Something's wrong.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. It just doesn't look right.
Fine to me.
Looks fine, but something's just not right.
What do you think it is?
Buddy.
Well, I don't know.
Come on.
A little trim, huh? Maybe wash the black dye out?
You dye your hair.
Of course, that's not all Elvis was up to, gang. Well, it's time for this week's number 1 movie, and it's Sigourney Weaver swinging from the top spot with Gorillas in the Mist, the true story of primatologist Diane Fossey and her quest to save the gorillas of East Africa. Now, when Sigourney was young, she dreamed of studying gorillas herself, and so she's grateful for finally getting the chance to do just that.
You just get to know them as individuals, as people, really, and different relationships evolve, and It was, I mean, it was an amazing experience for me, and I miss them. You know, I think they're pretty amazing.
Last week, several young gorillas played around me for over an hour. There aren't words to describe my emotions. It's made everything we've been through worthwhile. I suppose my only regret is that except for Sembagari, I have no one to share this with. To be perfectly frank, I think they're quite confused as to my species. I've gotten them accustomed to me by mimicking them, and they're fascinated by my facial grimaces and other actions that I wouldn't be caught dead doing in front of